all that.
That's recording again.
So that's recording?
Yep. Okie dokie.
All right, so let me just 3, 2, 1.
Don't just do that anymore.
Do it not?
No, because now the microphone goes straight into the camera.
The wonders of technology.
Wonders of technology.
Right, so let's do this properly.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of Ash and Des. I'm Des O'Gorman.
I'm Ash Price.
And today, well, I'll let you do the intro for this one.
Well, today we are talking a bit more personal. Usually we talk a lot about geeky and nerdy elements of growing up, or just things about growing up. Like when we were still in audio-only form, we talked a bit about school holidays.
Yeah.
And I'd love to bring that back for a video.
That would be nice. Yeah.
But this is a bit more of a personal one because we're going to be talking about things that you remember, geeky nerdiness and stuff that you were probably interested in as well. But more directly how it affected us and our past, our formative years, and how it affects us going forward, because we are taking our childhood on tour.
I know, this is very exciting for me. I know you've done this before. This is new for me. We are taking our collective shows on tour around Scotland and back to Northern Ireland, back to my homestead. And I have the flyer here for this. It's a marvellous show. First and foremost, the title of the show, A Night of Ghosts.
I'm sad that you had to check that.
It wasn't so much of that. I got myself a little bit stumped, but I did want to say right off the bat, Ash has done a fantastic job with this poster, with these flyers. Hopefully you'll see these around everywhere. Let us know if you've seen them. Take a photo, tag us. It'd be great to see. This is my first time seeing the flyers today, and they are beautiful. They are absolutely fantastic. This is something that we've been working on for quite a while, and it's really kind of built up over things. Something that really threw me off this, because you sent a few bits of paperwork and things. There's a lot of admin when it comes to tours and things, and it's amazing. We've known each other for 10 years.
I kind of rounded because I'm not entirely sure.
Let's say 10 years.
The first time I actually remember meeting you was at our mutual friend Ross's birthday. He had a gathering at the pear tree.
That's right.
And you were there, and kind of just like kicking around in the background, very mysterious.
And it was amazing. It was like a love. It was like a love meet type of thing. Like in romantic comedies, I saw Ash across the room. My eyes got all Vaseline and glazy. He looked amazing and beautiful. And then I met him and spoke to him. And
I mean, that was a little while later because I was like, well, I'm not going to talk to that guy. He looks a bit standoffish.
And this is back when I was clean shaven. I can only imagine how people see of me now. But we've known each other for a long time.
We have.
And we've done our own shows and things. And we came up with the idea of putting the two shows together because they kind of work around the theme of ghosts, because my show is about Ghostbusters and yours is about...
Mine's spooky seance magic, and there's going to be elements of talking about my childhood as well and what I grew up with, because a lot of what I do as my work now with stage magic and entertainment very much comes from my childhood and the type of media I engaged with, the type of things I did with family members and what I got from that youthful growing up. So, I remember all of this and it formed a major part of who I am. So this felt like a suitable episode for this series, for this channel, and to kind of discuss our history and our love of the spooky and the strange growing up, and talk a little bit about our individual development as creatives and how the past geekiness led to that. So I think the first thing, easiest thing to do is kind of talk about them separately and in order. So the first show is Des O'Gorman's Still Ready to Believe You, which is Ghostbusters related.
It's all Ghostbusters related. It's a nostalgic show about how, in the same way that your love of the paranormal came from your childhood, my love of Ghostbusters came from my childhood. It's a very personal story. I tell everybody that comes to see my show that you don't need to be a diehard fan of Ghostbusters because it's a very personal story. I explain everything. We have a few props here on the table you can't see, but one of the things is this, and I haven't seen this for years, and this is for the diehard fans out there. This is a Wimpy's Ghost in a Can, which was used in the promotion of Ghostbusters 2. And This is yours, Ash.
It is mine. So this also ties in actually to my childhood, because this is one of my earliest memories of ghost schools, spook, spectres. And like Des, and like anyone who was a kid in the 80s, I loved the Ghostbusters. When Ghostbusters 2 came out, Wimpy did their version of the Happy Meal. And instead of it coming with a fun build-it-yourself toy, it came with this terrifying monstrosity, which I'll sneak in a little bit of the advert.
Please.
Because the advert involves a little kid walking around with his can, opens the can, and it cuts to a scene from Ghostbusters 2, which at that point I hadn't seen, and one of the Scoleri brothers jumps out. So as a 6-year-old who had not seen the film and was not aware of the concept of video editing and putting together two disparate scenes that aren't together, I thought if I opened that can, a Scoleri brother would pop out. So I was at my grandparents, and I asked my mum to very carefully take me out to the back garden, because I didn't want the poor ghost to suffer. And so I'm holding it at kind of like arm's length as I walk to the very, very back of my grandparents' garden, and I'm like this, and
and then all of a sudden,
and then I drop it and I run away. And I kind of run, grab my mum and say, is it gone? Is it gone? She's like, yes, it flew away. What did it look like? He was invisible. Okay.
Mother, statistical anomaly. If he was invisible, how did you know that he has flown away? She was lying to you, Ash.
She was lying to
She was lying.
Oh my God. Maybe she was possessed by the ghost. Mother, are you a Scoleri brother?
If you are, feel free to contact the Ghostbusters of Scotland on 555-2368, and we should be able to help you out. We'll give you the friends rate, mostly because I kind of have to work with him. Two things about this can, just before we proceed on. For any of the diehard fans out there, it is not opened. The ghost is still safely contained within this can. This is obviously...
That's another one I got off eBay recently.
I actually have a slightly sad story about this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sadder than a ghost trapped in a can?
Even sadder.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it a puppy trapped in a can?
Yes, it never got out. It was Schrodinger's puppy, and it's still in there, pining to be let out. No, I do remember those adverts as well. I remember, I think at one point you got to see like the Ecto 1, and it's all silhouetted in light and smoke and everything. I remember that so vividly. And I remember one night my parents were going out for a dinner. It was just the two of them. And me being young at the time, I didn't understand what was going on. And I said, where are you going? And they said, we're going out to dinner. And I went, oh, are you going by the place that does these? Would you be able to get me a Happy Meal? And they went, yeah, of course. They were rushing. They had to get out the door. Yeah, they never went to a Wimpy's. And I stayed up all night waiting for them to come back. And I never got my Wimpy Ghost in the Can. So that's a fun little extra one that's not actually in the show. So that's just for you.
That is very sad.
It is.
But you still got the Wimpy logo on it.
I know.
Wimpy still exists. I know there's like three of them in the entire...
Seriously?
Well, they still existed about 13 years ago when my now late grandfather, who was very influential on me and my spook fandom, we were at his sister's funeral, and we kind of stopped off at a Wimpy on the way home. Actually longer than 13 years ago, because he was able to sit there and have a fag.
That is a while ago.
That is a while ago.
Because I think the Smoking Ban came in 2008, 2009?
Something like that, because me and my partner at the time, we smoked at the time, and Scotland had got rid of smoking before then. Yeah. So we decided when England were bringing it in, we were going to go down south just to have a smoke one last time in a pub and contribute to the downfall and death of staff members of the pub.
Nothing says nostalgic more than when you go into a McDonald's and they give you one of those plastic, not plastic, the metal ashtrays.
Like that jam tarts.
Yes.
But
we're off topic. We're off topic.
Yeah, but smoking inside, it was like, when you think about it now, it's like you were killing the staff.
Yeah. And also, if you really think about it, if you're talking about smoking, Ghostbusters is right up your alley, because, oh my God, do they smoke a lot in that first movie. The second one, not so much, but the first one, they are
not at all in the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
I think they were smouldering at that point more than anything else.
So your show then, Still Ready to Believe You, which is inspired by this childless stuff. Why did you want to put together that, and why bring that nostalgic element into it? You could have just done like a general comedy show. I
could have. The initial plan for the show was that it was meant to be just a one-off special. It was 2014, and I mentioned this in the show that I was actually on my way to a comedy gig, and our friend Ross messaged me to say that Harold Ramis had passed away. And that hit me a lot harder than I thought it would. You know, because you think you think of characters and actors, they're kind of merged in one, and you think they're kind of infallible, that they'll just never disappear. And when they do, it hits you so hard. And as I was heading to that gig, I really struggled to perform that night. And I remember thinking, I have to do something. I have to put on like something or other. So I did a one-off version of what I thought was going to be a one-off version of Still Right to Believe You. It was in the upstairs of the Counting House here in Edinburgh, and the reviews were amazing. The response I got from it was incredible, and people just kept asking me, "You need to keep this going." And so it initially was supposed to be just a one-off, but since then I've been able to bring it to the Fringe, bring it around Scotland and England, just for comic conventions, never as part of a tour. And
horror festival as well.
Horror festival, yes. And it's just one of those things that the franchise has now kept growing, both in good ways and in negative ways, which I do bring up in my show. Not going to talk about it now. Ash has to edit this. We could be here for hours. And so it is basically just a love letter to the franchise and how much it means to me personally. Yeah. It's a very personal story.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's a really good show. It's funny.
Thank you.
It's nostalgic. And it's really, really touching. I don't want to kind of go into spoiler territory, because there's some really good bits in it that are kind of very, very tugging at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
And there's some really valid commentary and points made as well. So if you are one of the people who kind of hate 2016's Ghostbusters reboot, there are women with proton
We can't have somebody wielding a proton pack without a penis.
If you kind of take it off,
Yeah.
and kind of he holds it correctly,
Yeah.
it is.
Oh my God, look, he's wielding it.
It is pop. Film, and they do that quite a lot.
This show is for everybody.
Yes.
If you were able to instantly recognize the No Ghost logo, this show is for you.
Yeah.
And it was through doing this show that I got to, especially like during a lot of Fringe times, I got to see your show, or many versions of your show.
You have. My show is I think I should retitle it the ADHD Magic Show, because it does very much change.
Ash, we're not sticking anything. How many players have we got?
5,000.
We're not sticking on 5,000 stickers.
You may notice I have gone for a rather generic explanation about what the show is.
Because we want to. This is the age of spoilers, and we have to avoid that in any way, shape, or form. But to go into non-spoiler.
It does jump around.
It does jump around.
Ideas, and you've seen loads of different versions.
I have.
This is a version. I don't think you've seen this version.
I probably haven't. But
the last time you saw the show was like a month ago.
Oh God, yeah.
You haven't seen this version.
Ash likes to change his show a lot. One of the things I do love about your show, Ash, is that you're quick on the fly. You're able to interact with the audience, and you're able to keep the show going at an amazing pace. And it is an incredible show to see. I know this is a very boastful kind of self-flattery type of episode we're doing here, but this is the truth. I really love what you do on stage. It is fantastic. Where did the whole wanting to perform this on stage, where did this all come from?
So I mentioned the Ghost Can.
Yes, you did.
And my grandparents' place. And that's kind of the overlap of that is where it really comes from. My grandfather was a spiritualist. Now, not a spiritualist medium or anything like that. He was a kind of a believer in spiritualism, which is a long, long story to go into about what spiritualism is. It's basically kind of belief in the idea that spirits are around and able to be communicated with. I was kind of describe it as DLC for Christianity, because it is something you can kind of have in kind of conjunction with your existing beliefs, which is why my granddad never called himself a spiritualist. He always called himself a Christian. Yeah. Because this was just kind of a part of it. And I went with him when I was 11 years old to a seance, and this little old medium comes out and she kind of starts communicating with the dead, and she kind of says, is there an Ethel here? I've got an Ethel in the spirit. Does anyone recognise the name Ethel? My granddad goes, yeah, that was my mum. Yeah. Now, as an 11-year-old, I was like, that's incredible. That's strange and bizarre and amazing. Yeah. As a slightly older person, it's kind of like, okay, you went into this room in the 1990s full of people in their 80s and asked if anyone knew an Ethel.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but I instantly think there's a Darrow Breen joke about a seance, and he just somebody playing it, I think it was in Belfast or Dublin, and the seance person comes out and just goes, "Is anybody here lost?" a Mary in Ireland. Are you kidding me?
Well, it's one of those things that when I started performing this type of magic, I was actually doing it more from a skeptical angle. So it's kind of a debunking. It was the first full show I did that involved magic was called How to Be a Psychic Con Man, and I kind of taught people how to do metal bending and kind of psychic surgery and that type of thing. And there was a little segment where I talked about mediums and psychics in this story about Ethel, and it was played for a bit more for laughs, but when I was an 11-year-old, this seemed really convincing. And what convinced me even further was they got us up to kind of stand around a table and do something called table tipping, which is where you put your fingers on the table and then the table starts to bounce and move. It's not the levitations that I do now on my stage work with table levitations, but it was just something much subtler and simpler. And it was at that point that I kind of fell in love with the supernatural and the paranormal. And because I was already a Ghostbusters fan, it just felt like a natural bolt on to that, and it felt normal. And I used to, like you, I loved the Ghostbusters, and I was, desperate for the figures and all that, and the toys and the photon packs. And I used to get all sorts of, like, my birthday was always a great time. It's like, yes, I'm getting something new Ghostbusters-y. I remember around about that time, I also, go ghost hunting with a friend of mine. There was a place just behind us called the Rally Banks where my grandparents live. And it was an old park, and these Rally Banks, there used to be a train track that went through it. And we heard this story as kids that a train had derailed, killing everyone on board. And so we thought, as kids, we would go and investigate this and go ghost hunting. We'd do it scientifically, like the Ghostbusters. Yeah. So we thought if a train was going through there, there'd be evidence of trains having been there. So we went around and looked and found evidence of trains having been there, which was actually, in retrospect, probably something to do with power cables instead. But, again, as a youngster. And we thought, okay, if a ghost train came through here, how would we find evidence of that? So we thought if we sprinkled talcum powder around on the ground, that if a train went through it, it would leave tracks on the talcum powder.
That is brilliant.
We thought it was. So we came back the next day, and there was sadly no tracks, a few footprints. And it was kind of at that point we realised that if there was a ghost train, it's a soil path. It would have left tracks anyway.
Good point.
The talcum powder was completely unnecessary, but it felt like we're being scientific and rational. And
that's forward thinking right there. I mean, you did a lot more than Winston did in Ghostbusters 2. He just stood there and screamed.
Yeah, exactly. We at least threw kind of like talcum powder everywhere and maybe killed one or two birds. But that was it.
Yeah.
But that kind of is what led into it. I always retained that love of the paranormal and the supernatural. And when I moved to Edinburgh, I did what a lot of resting actors do, and I worked for the Ghost Tours. And 2 years there gave me a lot of material to work with, and I started doing these shows. And over the years, it took about 5 years for me to go from doing the skeptical only ones to doing shows that were a bit more, what I would call a magic show. How to Be a Psychic Con Man developed from more of a lecture with some magic in to just a comedy magic show where I taught you how to do psychic tricks for yourself. And that led into me creating a more serious, what I would call kind of straight magic shows and themed around the paranormal. And they've always involved elements of my growing up, my grandfather, and I wouldn't be doing it without them. And this, I was going to show people, this is a book that I use actually in the show. It's called Ghost Watching, The Ghost Hunter's Handbook, and this was one of my grandfather's books. It's even got one of his handwritten notes in the back that I found, where he's just listed a load of people to kind of research. So one of the people he mentions is Sir William Crookes, who was a scientist very well respected in the 1800s, who actually coined the term psychic in the English language. Before that, it came from the French psychique. 1871, he gave the title of psychic to a guy called Daniel Douglas Hume to describe what he did. And D.D. Hume was actually from Edinburgh, so a local lad here. Mentioned Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, obviously heavily involved in parapsychology and early investigations. And so also kind of people listed here to kind of look
Peter Venkman? Egon Spengler? Wow. Your father was ahead. Your grandfather was ahead of the time.
Yvette Fielding.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that one. But this is incredible, because this is actually something that kind of connects our two shows, because your grandfather had this. He didn't write this book.
No. This is one of his many books. It's the only book I have of his left. And so, but the fact that I get to use it in shows,
that's nice.
Doing this is something I'm really pleased about.
And this connects us because you're getting this through your grandfather and through his collection of books. Danny Aykroyd came up with the idea of Ghostbusters because his family was also related in that type of work. I think it was his father, Peter Aykroyd, that wrote a book.
That rings a bell,
Yeah. So that, I didn't actually know that. That is incredible. And just so for the younger fans out there, Ash's grandfather has that list in his book. That means he has to go to a library to look that up. There was no Googling back in the day.
Yeah,
he had that list. He had to find those names by hand on paper.
Yeah, this would be the 90s he was doing this. Yeah, he'd actually have to go and look at the books and get the books and have a look.
What else was he going to do? Use dial-up? Come on. He'd be quicker reading a book.
I mean, Ouija board, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll just do that on your chest there. But no, let's not go down that route.
Yeah, I used to kind of make the joke that, you can do the Ouija board on my chest, but if there's an A or an M in it, I might get a little bit aroused.
And that's now going to be on the internet forever, unless you edit that joke out. And no, I don't think you will. So as you can tell, Ash, you've done this show before. You've taken it around.
Like I say, variations of it. It changes all the time as I want to try new things. But it's always the same kind of backbone of the show. It still remains very much the same. Certain things still remain unchanged, and routines will get taken out and put back in, and sometimes stories will change, especially depending on where we are, because there's not much point in me telling stories about the haunted underground of Edinburgh when we're in Belfast.
Exactly. And obviously my show can obviously keep changing because they keep making Ghostbusters. We're now up to Ghostbusters. They've literally just finished filming Ghostbusters 4. We still haven't gotten a title for it yet. It's still under Firehouse. Very excited to see how they continue on with that one. And as you can tell, for me personally, I'm very excited for this. Not only do I get to take my show around Scotland, back home to Belfast, I get to do one of my best friends, which is fantastic. If we survive this tour and neither of us kill each other, I'm going to consider that a minor victory more than anything else.
I would like to do more with it at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of look at again. Maybe next spring, summertime, or something like that. See how it goes. Maybe something a little bit more broader.
Well, I mean, the thing that really pushed it for me to do this is that I managed to do my show at the after party of Ectocon, which was a UK-based, the first UK-based Ghostbusters fan event. And I literally got to perform my show for my target audience, for Ghostbuster fans, and the response was electric. It was incredible. And even on the flyers that I use, most people would use reviews from, websites or news articles or things like that.
Press.
Press.
Like
Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. No, I got reviews from fans that saw the show at Ectocon. So I have some from the Ghostbusters of Scotland, from the Kent Ghostbusters, the fans, and it's one of those just things that just makes me so happy and proud to be a Ghostbusters fan and to be a fan of this man right here. Look at that face.
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? We talk obviously in these shows a lot about nostalgia and things we grew up with, but I think this is a really, really prime example of how kind of that culture and that world of nerdery and geekery and growing up in that type of environment and having it supported as well, and not kind of told, oh no, that's silly, we're not going to get you any of those things, we're not going to do that, and but how kind of supporting people in their childhood development stage when the things they're interested in and helping them can really be a good thing, because it's led to where we are now.
Exactly.
I would not be doing this if it wasn't for what happened to me as a child growing up, the experiences I had, my love of ghosts and ghouls and the Ghostbusters all cementing together. Des wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for his childhood and Ghostbusters. So the whole point of this nostalgia stuff and this Ash and Des Remember programs and things like that we do is it's remembering the things that made us and the world that made us, because for good or bad, and for all of the good and bad things that happened, we wouldn't be doing what we are now.
Exactly.
And honestly, in retrospect, it's turned out for the best.
I think so. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there, and you're 100% right, there's still people out there that you can't do this, you shouldn't be doing that, why are you focusing on this? Just let these things develop you. Sometimes they lead to amazing things, sometimes they won't, but they're still experiences. If it wasn't for my this is how much of this works, right? If it wasn't for the fact that I was a Ghostbusters fan, I wouldn't have done this show, I wouldn't have met my wife, I wouldn't have met lifelong friends. If I wasn't a fan of Doctor Who, I wouldn't be here in Edinburgh. I don't know if you know this.
No.
When I was choosing my universities to go to, I had 3 in mind. The first one was the Royal Arts and Drama College in Cardiff. And I chose that as my number 1 because it's in Cardiff and they filmed Doctor Who there. My second one was here in Edinburgh, Queen Margaret, because David Tennant is Scottish, and I thought if they could produce an actor like David Tennant, be good for me. And then my third one was in Belfast. Main reason being is that it'd be close to home and my ma could do my laundry. But if it wasn't for those things, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have done my show. A whole domino effect type of thing.
It's very similar. I wouldn't have met my wife if it wasn't for all of this, because all of this led to my performance as a paranormal illusionist, a spooky magician, which in turn led to me essentially co-founding the Edinburgh Horror Festival. That wouldn't have happened if I wasn't this type of performer. If I was just a regular magician or didn't have a love it, I wouldn't have started the Edinburgh Horror Festival with a group of other wonderful people. Yeah. And that is where I met my wife. I met my wife as part of the Edinburgh Horror Festival. I wouldn't have met her if it wasn't for that. Yeah. And so I wouldn't be doing the things I do. In the past few years of COVID's been difficult. I haven't been able to do as much as I'd like, and it's left me some health problems. It means I still can't do as much as I'd like. But being able to go and do this, Belfast is going to be the furthest away I've been from home since pre-COVID.
And I know you'll be able to do this. I know this is going to be a tough time for you, but again, we're here to support each other. You're my friend. I mean this in a lovely way. I love you. You're my buddy.
Yes.
And we're going to go there. We're going to have a great time. We're going to make some memories. This is what I want more than anything else from this tour. I want to make some amazing memories. To be able to look back at this in like 5 years' time and just go, I did that with my friend. I have the photos. I have the
video footage, the ticket stubs.
The ticket stubs. Speaking beautifully of which, if you do want to come to see any of the shows, we haven't really plugged anything yet.
This was really to talk about the nostalgia and the remembering.
Exactly. But if you would like to come and see our shows, all the information is on the website. Is it a nativeghost.com or .co.uk?
nativeghosts.co.uk. I'll put a link up here. And we're performing
in Belfast, we're performing in Edinburgh, we're performing in Glasgow, and we're performing in Ayr.
We've got 2 dates in Edinburgh, 2 dates in Ayr, 1 in Glasgow, 1 in Belfast. So I'm really looking forward to being back at the Panopticon in Glasgow. Yes. It's a great venue. Stan Laurel got his live stage debut there.
And then all of a sudden they're going to host me. Yeah. So, it just goes to show that life is full of peaks and troughs. Yeah. So
no, it'll be fine.
It's going to be an amazing time. I'm great experience. Really looking forward to it. This was just a nice way to, 1, promote the show, and 2, just talk about where we were coming from, where this all came from for us. And we just hope that we've piqued some interest out there. And if there's any spooky magic fans out there, if there's any Ghostbuster fans, if there's anybody just like a good wee night out and a good wee dose of nostalgia, come and see us. We'll promise you at least a semi-nice time. Well, I mean, we're competing against Netflix here, so we really need to hamp this up a wee bit.
Oh, so that means that actually once the show's performed a few times, we'd probably make it unavailable.
There we go. Yeah, that's... Well, it literally is. We'll do it once in Glasgow and then never again. Yes. Never again.
The true Netflix model.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Yes. No, if you can come, folks, it would be wonderful to see us all there. This little video was just like a nice wee trip on how everything came together for us and how just giddy and excited I am for it. Ash is an old hand at this, so you'll take me under your wing, won't you?
Yes, like the birds that push the baby birds off the cliff to make them fly.
And on that note,
do join us again for future episodes, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
if Des survives the tour. This is going out, actually, I think probably before the Batman episode. So yes.
The tour is during August. We should have mentioned that. Yes, all August. The dates are during August, mostly because we thought that the city of Edinburgh becomes full during the Fringe, so we thought take our shows to everybody else that couldn't make it and just...
less competition.
Yeah, that. I was trying to find a more diplomatic way of saying that, but no, less competition.
We live in a capitalist society, let's just be honest. No, it's something I wanted to do for a while, and my health doesn't allow me to do a full Fringe run anymore, so I just decided, how about this year? Yep. Let's try something different. And so, a Night of Ghosts.
A Night of Ghosts. We're really looking forward to it. Like I said, if you are interested, the website, Ash has already put it up, and I'm going to put it up here, but I'm going to move my hands to see if Ash can put in like a special effect. Just, oh, look. Oh, and then gone. That's it. Away.
I haven't decided yet what type of editing I'm going to do with that. Could be anything.
I am so intrigued to see what Ash does with that more than anything else.
Could be a giant cock.
No. For now, folks, thanks very much for watching, listening to us ramble. If you have enjoyed this, we do have other videos up. Feel free to check out the YouTube channel. We're on
Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and at some point probably on Threads, the new one. To be fair, by the time this video goes out, Threads might be dead.
That's going to date the video something fierce. But
there's like 15 seconds left of recording time, so time to wrap up. I've been Ash Price.
I've been Des O'Gorman, and hopefully we'll see you on the road.
Keep it geeky.
Bye for now.